I'm talking to you live from Wild West Mustang Ranch, and I have another little tiny portion of an interview with West. And after this one, I'm going to be interviewing Cammie. But in this one, we just barely started to scratch the surface of a couple of things, and I want you to know we're mentioning in this video that I will be participating in this relationship formula course that they're having, because it has completely changed my life, and I'm going to be really involved in being a student in it. And so it would be fun if you came along, if you were interested in doing this too, and we could learn this together. It's just an online course, and it's 8 weeks, and there's live Zoom calls and things like that. So you'll see me mention that there. But I wanted to tell you what we're going to be talking about. The first one is like I said with the last one about sabotaging yourself. I'm just going to be really honest about the things that I've had to work with West and other neuroscience behavioral specialists about my old thinking patterns. And one of my biggest issues, and it's this way for a lot of people, is that I am codependent. And that means that I have had a difficult time in my life being okay if all the people I love are not okay. And so that causes all sorts of issues, where I don't let my feelings be my feelings and their feelings be their feelings. They're all just mixed up all with each other. So that's one of the things. And the other one that Wes just touches on really lightly, and it's a touchy subject, and it has been for me with all of my coaches, is when, none of us like to parade through life like a victim, but we do get victimized, and that's been a tough one for me, because sometimes, I'm always for the underdogs, and I've been the underdog before, where somebody has more power or more money or more whatever, and they're taking advantage of people. And so, and especially situations where caregivers or family or whatever is the abuser. Or anybody's an abuser. That's a really horrible thing, and you do get victimized. But it's been a difficult thing for me to not gaslight myself and not bypass. I like to be a cheerful, happy person, but I had some things happen in my life that I had to confront, and I had to confront all the details of it so that I could heal. And so, you start going through all that stuff, and you're like, I was victimized, but then how long do you stay a victim? And so we talk about that a little bit. I asked Wes that question, and what I want you to know is he's been through some stuff, and Cammie's been through some stuff. And so he can speak from a place of experience about this, and he's not just trying to be insensitive. I've asked him, in fact, Cammie and West both, if you've read my memoir, there's a whole chapter about how they had an intervention with me. They call you on your stuff when you are giving your power away, which is what I was doing. And so the question I asked West is like, well, what do you do when something, how do you change your story when something did happen without changing the story that something happened? And so West always says, well, yes, the horrible, terrible thing did happen. And then you have to, at some point, after you're done grieving and healing, as soon as you're at a place, you have to just say, okay, so now what? What am I going to do now? And that is exactly where I've been. I've been thinking about this so much the last couple of months. Just, if I looked back and saw all the mountains that I've had to climb and overcome, and obstacles I've had to overcome in the last 5 years, and a lot of it I can't even talk about, and so you don't even know what I'm talking about. But I look back, and as me, the woman, girl, Melody-Ross, I never thought I would have the personality to be able to move forward with some of the things that I had to face, and a lot of it by myself. And so that's exactly what I had to do. It's kind of like my lesson. She did it anyway. This and this and this happened. She kept going anyway. This lesson with the relationship formula that Wes talks about a little bit in here, it's just, awful, terrible things happen, and unfair things happen, and things happen that make us feel like it's done, like we're done. We're done. Our life is done. Life as we knew it is done. Our dreams are done. But there's that moment when you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And that's the moment that Wes will talk about where he says, okay, so now what? And like he said, you can, so much of this is the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves and about our life and about what's possible for us. And he says in there, you can craft a really epic victim story. And I want you to know that I have done that. When you're in a hole that's so deep, you can't see anything but a victim story. When I realized, what, I'm going to turn this into a hero story, a warrior story. That's when things changed for me. When I not that terrible things didn't happen, that will never not be true. But what I decided when I said, so now what? So what's next? So now what am I going to do? That's when, and you know what, you guys, it's not fair. It's not fair. Most of the time it's not fair. When things happen that are out of our control, and especially when things happen that were in someone else's control. And they did things to us that put us so far back, or abused us, or whatever, really mess with your heart and your brain psychology, and all the things that trauma does to us. At some point when we're strong enough, the only question is, so now what? What am I going to do? What am I going to do anyway? And like I said, it's not fair. It's not fair, but it is, as adults, it is our responsibility to do the work. It's a bummer. But it is our responsibility to do what it takes to heal, and then to decide what story is going to come for us next. After you heal, or while you're healing, don't ever, minimize or gaslight or deny that something happened, but decide what's going to happen now. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, and then a whole lot in the course, but that's what this little tiny video is about. It's about my issues with codependency and writing a victim story instead of a warrior story. And so now I'm really focused on writing a warrior story instead of a victim story. So I hope you enjoy this little interview. Mwah. Hey, come join us in this class. Just check it out. It's a tremendous investment in yourself. West is giving my community $500 off. But it's, like I said, I've been working with West and Cami for 3 years now, and it's been absolutely life-changing. So I hope I see you there. Mwah. Other one is my, the best way I can describe it is codependency, and we can talk about that in our next conversation, where there's a part of me that tells, there's a story I tell myself. I'm trying to find the right words. There's a story.
See, you're pausing right now.
Yes.
This is the pause.
Yes.
You just did the pause.
Thank you.
That was a pause right there, because you're starting to speak.
No,
and you're
I'm like, not true.
Those aren't the words.
Not true. Yeah.
I don't want that chemistry.
No, I don't want this to be my story. I have been telling myself a story for a long time, that if everyone around me that I love is not okay, I can't be okay. And that if we're not enmeshed in a certain way where they need me really badly, then we're not going to be able to have a good relationship. I do that with my children, with my husband. And so it's almost like I create situations where they need me or I need them. And then I freak out when I'm whole and they're whole. And it's just like, what is our relationship if we're both whole people that don't need each other? And so I want to overcome this thing with my body. I want to learn more about it. Maybe I won't overcome it in the class, but also this belief, this story, I want to explore it deeply, that I can't be okay unless everybody in my life is okay. That's codependency, I guess. And so do you feel like that the formula could help me get...
Absolutely, because the more you kind of understand or engage with the formula, the more you realize it's all about self.
Yeah.
It has to start here. We can have all of this external that we feel like, okay, everybody else has got to be happy in my life, and I can sit back and go, oh, they're all happy.
And I had so much to do with it because I served them.
But then life happens to this one. It's like, oh no! And then you got to go do that thing.
Or they don't want me to be all up in their business. And
no, it's the more you understand and work through the formula, the more you understand it is all begins and ends with self. Every relationship in your life, people included, but your relationship with nature, body, food, exercise, money,
business,
your community, all of that, the common denominator is self. So this relationship formula is all about identifying and building self, because as you identify and build self, you re-engage with all relationships differently
And
because this changed.
I do want to bring up the one thing we talked about yesterday about how crappy things really do happen. People have traumas that are so horrific and long lasting, and that this doesn't like eliminate that was true. Sometimes things happen to you that you didn't tell a story about. They actually happen and they're horrific. And so then we got to the point where we like, then what do you do? And Wes just kind of said, you have to ask yourself, so what's next? So what now? So what now? And that's kind of a harsh reality of life. But when you're an adult, that's kind of where it gets to. It's just like, okay, so what now? What story am I going to tell myself about this now? Because it's hard when really horrible things happen to you. It becomes almost an identity. Because it feels terrible.
Well,
you know?
It will.
It can become an identity.
It will become an identity either way. The relationship formula will just show you that you are the creator of that identity. Either way.
Yeah. Even though something horrible really did happen to you. You can
create the most luscious victim story ever and live that.
Yeah.
Or you can create the most dynamic, daring, bold, and brave living story ever and live that.
Even though the trauma was true.
Your neurochemistry won't matter either way. It won't care. So that's why, and now what? Like the thing happened, okay, now what?
What do I choose next?
And then the neurochemistry is going to follow either direction. So.
Wow. Well, this is awesome.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay, we'll talk next about codependency. Thank you for this.
Thank
you for your time that you're giving to my community. And like I said, I'm going to be in your class, and I would love for anyone in my community to come join. It'll be a really great way for us.
What a fun opportunity.
I know, for us to be co-students, to be students next to each other.
Your students can have
we'll be students
a
together.
great relationship and go through all this and learn from each other and together. So we're excited to have you a part of it, and I'm excited to have the horse and bring myself and bring Cammie into all of this learning. And so I think you and Cammie are going to sit down and do a talk as well. I'd love to. I look forward to that. I'd love to hear her side of things. Yeah.